Welcome back to Movies with MacLean. I'm Andrew MacLean. This is my movie-related podcast where we discuss movie news, just movie reviews. We have one today, and other movie topics. This is episode 11. I have two guests. I have a returning guest, Grant Hoffman. How you doing today, Grant?
I'm doing pretty good. Looking forward to the podcast.
And Michael Frank. This is your first time. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty excited to be here for Movies with MacLean.
Yeah, should be a good time. So just a rundown of the show. We have our movie news as always, and then we're reviewing Batman v Superman. It's the biggest movie of the year so far. It made, I think, 173, something like that, opening weekend. And then we have our main topic, which is Chris Nolan movies, which we'll get to towards the end of the show. But first up, movie news. There were a lot of small pieces of news this week, but since we have a lot to get to today, we only picked a few of them. And in the horror genre, there's two new horror trailers for the Lights Out trailer, which is produced by James Wan, and then the Conjuring 2 trailer, which is directed by James Wan. So, Grant, I know you're a bigger horror fan than probably me and Michael are, so how about you go first? What do you think of both of these trailers? Just go ahead.
I thought you showed me Lights Out a couple days ago, and I thought Lights Out looked pretty good. I mean, James Wan seems to be pretty good at directing. I think he did a good job with The Conjuring. The Conjuring 2, I'm not sure if it'll be good or not. Then again, James Wan is a good director. I think he'll probably do okay with it, but I'm not sure if it's gonna live up to the same greatness that The Conjuring had. And I know that I'm not sure if he directed Annabelle or not, but I've heard terrible things about it.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, I've heard that one was not very good.
Yeah, Michael, what do you think of these trailers?
I felt that Lights Out was pretty creepy. I liked the idea of there being a woman in the shadows, and for the Conjuring 2, I think this trailer was a big improvement on the last one, and it made me feel that this one will be a little better than the first. It had some
More story?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it was better than the last trailer. I mean, I'm not a big horror guy, but both of these trailers look pretty creepy. James Wan's pretty good at doing horror, so I'm sure The Conjuring 2 will be pretty good at least. And I know people praise The Conjuring as one of the best horror movies of the past few years. And then Lights Out, yeah, also looked pretty creepy. I think it's based on a short film that was made a few years ago, but it looks pretty good. I liked when that cop was going into the shadows, and he just got flown or dragged in. That was pretty creepy. But yeah, I think both of them look pretty good. Is that anything else on those from you guys?
Nope.
Okay. Next news piece is with the Lego Batman movie. We talked about it last week because the first images were released. So we're not going to really talk about our overall expectations of the movie, just these two trailers, because two trailers for the movie were released just in this past week. The first one featured Will Arnett as Batman in the Batcave, and then the other one was him interacting with Alfred in Wayne Manor. Let's just go as we did last time. Grant, overall thoughts on these trailers?
Well, I mean, I enjoyed his character in the Lego movie. I thought Lego movie was a pretty good movie for just being about toys. I think that the Lego Batman teaser trailers, I thought they were pretty good. They were pretty interesting. I thought they they were pretty funny for just being teaser trailers, and I'm not sure how Lego's gonna take this, how they're gonna make an entire feature film about him. But I think it'll be good. I think it'll be pretty funny because I like Will Arnett voicing Batman.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, when I was watching the trailers, I felt like it captures the same fun stuff that the Lego movie did, and it was just as funny.
Yeah.
As they were.
Yeah, anything else? No. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty funny too. I like in the second trailer, the Wayne Manor one, how Alfred was like calling back to all the other Batman movies, and when he mentioned, because he's like saying all the years that they came out, like saying that he's going through these phases, and when he mentions 1997, it just flashed a picture of the bat nipples on George Clooney's costume, so that was pretty funny. I also thought that I really liked the shot where he like threw the batarang at Bane in that second trailer. I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, this just gets me even more excited for the movie. I'm not sure exactly when it comes out. I think it's next year, but I'm definitely excited for the Lego Batman movie. Yeah, next year. So that's all we have in the news today, because there is a lot more to get to on the main show. So what we're going to do now is give a review of Batman v Superman. How about Michael, you go first?
I really liked Batman vs. Superman. I liked Ben Affleck as Batman, not necessarily as Bruce Wayne, but as him fighting fighting Superman and just being badass. And I felt that Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor was kind of strange. I mean, Lex Luthor was a good character himself. I just didn't like Jesse Eisenberg as him.
Yeah.
Overall, it was pretty good.
Yeah. What were some of your like major dislikes though, or did you have any like?
Well, for one, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, but I think that's pretty much it. That's like the big thing with me.
Yeah. All right. We'll come back to you for your overall score later.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go with my review now. Or I mean, we can all like give our reviews and then have a discussion, sort of. Yeah, this movie's been getting mostly negative reviews from the critics, but I loved it. I think that if you compare it to Man of Steel, like, Man of Steel is probably a better movie because this movie had so many issues, but I think there's also so much more to love about this movie. Like, the action is incredible. We're not spoiling anything, but like, if you've seen the trailer, you know Doomsday's in the movie, and the fight with Doomsday is pretty awesome. The Batman v Superman fight was everything I wanted it to be, and as you said, Ben Affleck, as far as the action goes, he's the most badass Batman we've seen yet. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, she was alright. Like, she wasn't like great, she wasn't bad, so it didn't really affect the movie for me. My favorite sequence of the movie was that, well, other than like the Batman v Superman fight, was the Nightmare Batman sequence. I thought that was awesome when he was having that vision. I guess if you're not a big on DC Comics, you might not really know a whole lot about that, but for a fan of that, like, and like the teases to Darkseid and like Injustice, Gods Among Us there, I thought that was pretty awesome. And I loved like the action there with Batman fighting those like soldiers. I also really liked the introduction of the Flash, but not the other two, like the Cyborg and Aquaman. I didn't really like their introductions. There were a lot of plot holes. It was sort of hard to understand Lex Luthor's motivation. I guess he really only explained it, like, sort of at the beginning when he was talking to the senator about, like, something with his uncle and, like, tyrants. Like, he didn't want Superman to, like, take over or something. They didn't do a very good job of explaining that. There was actually a deleted scene that they just now released. It's kind of weird to release a deleted scene like a couple of days after the movie comes out, but it showed Lex Luthor like communicating with Steppenwolf, who's like one of Darkseid's like followers. So that might have helped explain it a little better. I did not like any of the stuff with the senator at the beginning, or that whole Africa controversy. I didn't think they needed that because they already had the issue of the destruction of Metropolis. So that really didn't do anything for me. But overall, I thought there was a lot to love. I love Ben Affleck. I liked the choice they made for the end. We won't say anything about that. But I've been talking for a while, so Grant, you go ahead.
I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was great. I mean, there's definitely some things you can pick apart about it, and there's definitely a lot to like. I thought that Ben Affleck as Batman was definitely good casting by Warner Brothers. I like Man of Steel, so I was okay with Henry Cavill's performance. I thought he did well in his continuation of the role. Um, Gal Gadot, I don't really have a problem with. I don't know much about her, so I mean, don't really have much of an opinion about her. I thought she did okay. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, I found irritating throughout the entire movie. I feel like the casting was bad. The lines he had, I don't necessarily feel like he did a bad job with what he had. I just don't like his character. I feel like they could have picked someone better to play him. Overall, I feel like critics have given it more negative reviews because they don't know as much about the DC universe, would kind of be my guess. Because I feel like there's a lot more to enjoy if you kind of know like what's going on, like the dream sequence with Batman, which you had to explain to me. I didn't really know it, but I feel like it's a lot more enjoyable for people who already have read the comic and kind of just know like how things are gonna play out.
Yeah. All right. Well, how about we give it a score and then we might discuss it a little more. Michael, since you went first, give it a score out of 10.
I'll have to give it 7.5.
7.5. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going with a 7.8 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
7.
Yeah.
All right. So we all thought it was pretty good, I guess. I think in general we're in agreement on this movie. We all liked it, I guess. It's fair to say.
Yeah.
One more thing is that it was cut pretty bad. Like going from scene to scene, there was no very good transitions. So that was another issue.
The continuity of the movie was not very good because in some instances Superman has the power to do something, but then like a couple minutes later he doesn't have the power to do what he needs to do.
I know what you mean. But we can't really.
There's
get
just
into
a lot of stuff that just I don't want to like spoil anything.
Yeah.
Just stuff that doesn't make sense that happens in the movie just to kind of move the plot forward.
Yeah. Anything else from you, Michael?
No.
No? Alright, well, we'll move on. Our main topic today is Chris Nolan movies. We're just going to go down his entire filmography, discuss the movies he's directed, what we like about them, what we don't like. And Chris Nolan, he's probably one of the most popular directors out there today. I think people might maybe give him a little bit too much praise, but like, not to say he hasn't made a lot of great movies. I just think like some people hold him to the highest, like as one of the greatest directors, and he's a good director. I'll say that, and I love a lot of his movies. But he's also made some movies that I don't really like. But because he is like one of the most popular directors, and he produced Batman v Superman, we're talking about him today, and all the movies he's directed, not like written and produced. So, first up is Doodlebug. Now, Doodlebug is just a short film that was like 3 minutes long, and it's on YouTube. We all just watched it, and I think it's pretty great. So, it basically shows a man trying to stomp a bug that is in his room, and there's a nice little twist at the end that we won't ruin for anyone. But, overall thoughts on Doodlebug?
Doodlebug, it seemed kind of boring throughout most of the film, but I really enjoyed how it had a original Chris Nolan twist at the end.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty dumb. I guess it's entertaining for the 3 minutes that it lasts. I'm confused on why anybody ever made it. I feel like it's just unnecessary.
Well, maybe he made it to get his name out there, and now look at him.
Is that what you want your name attached to? It was really weird.
It was very weird. Okay, the next movie he made was Following. This is a movie that I don't think any of us have ever seen. This is his first feature-length film, although it's only like a little over an hour, so yeah, Following. That we can't really discuss that because none of us have seen it. The next movie is Memento. Grant, you've seen Memento, right?
Yeah.
Alright, go ahead and discuss Memento. What do you think about Memento?
I thought it was like well put together. I thought like the plot like really just like ties together at the end, and I do love the twist that kind of turns out at the end. And it's like a movie that you kind of just want to keep watching because you really want to figure out like what's going on, like the ambiguity that kind of the plot has until the very end. I thought it was great idea and was put together in a movie very well.
Yeah, I love like the mystery of it, and then I like the twist at the end. It sort of has like two timelines, so it's you got to pay attention, make sure you're following it well. A lot of Chris Nolan's movies are like that, where you got to pay attention. But it's a great mystery thriller. I like the twist that they throw in at the end. So I really like Memento. Michael, have you seen Memento?
No.
Okay. Well, that being said, then we'll move on. The next movie is Insomnia, which I believe none of us have seen Insomnia. It has Al Pacino, and that's about all I know about Insomnia. But the next one that he made is a pretty big deal, Batman Begins. We talked about it some last week with the DC Comics movies, but you guys weren't here to discuss that, so I'm going to let you guys talk about Batman Begins.
I thought Batman Begins is the second best film in the trilogy, with Dark Knight being the best in my opinion. But I thought Batman Begins did a great job kind of setting up the entire series and like what Christopher Nolan, like how he depicted his version of Batman with Christian Bale. I thought he did a great job with the villain Ra's al Ghul. I thought Liam Neeson did very well, and he kind of fit the role very well. I like the plot of the movie. I like how long kind of the introduction is, and kind of shows you and just really sets up everything for not just that movie and just that villain, kind of just the entire trilogy combined.
Yeah, I mean, well, Michael, you go ahead, actually. I'll go too.
Yeah, I really liked the Batman Begins, not as much as I like the other two Batman movies by Christopher Nolan. I liked how it set up the entire world that Batman is in for the next two films, and I like Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, going off what Grant said about how, oh shoot, I can't remember what Grant said because I forgot, I'm sorry. But anyways, I like how they set up Gotham, and like, it's very, dark, and it was one of the first, like, superhero movies to go, like, really dark, and it, like, with a Batman movie, it should be that way. It's very grounded, realistic, movie. Yeah, like you guys said, Liam Neeson's perfect Ra's al Ghul. And, I mean, I talked about it last week. Batman Begins is one of my favorite movies of all time. So, I won't go any more into Batman Begins. So we can move on to the next movie in his filmography, which is The Prestige, which was a year after Batman Begins. Grant, have you seen The Prestige?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to abstain from this one because I have not seen it. All I know is it's about Christian Bale being a magician. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, I know that you love The Prestige, so you go ahead and talk about that for a little while.
Prestige is my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, tied with The Dark Knight. I just can't decide between those two, but I love how both
Christian Bale?
Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman are portrayed as people who are willing to go through great lengths to do what they do, and Scarlett Johansson, Michael Caine, they're all great supporting actors and actresses.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Yeah, I mean, I just watched it, and I really liked it. I wouldn't put it up with, like, one of my favorite, Chris Nolan movies, but, it, like the other movies, had, like, a cool twist at the end. I thought it was great performances from both Bale and Hugh Jackman. I like, David Bowie in the movie, even though he wasn't in it for a very long portion, but I thought he was pretty good. And, yeah, it's just a pretty cool movie. Like, it also has alternating timelines like Memento. It's got like 3 different timelines, so it's one that you gotta pay attention to. But yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was a good, like, thriller, and it was good to see those, like, two guys clash. Like, their competition was pretty interesting to me. The next movie is The Dark Knight, which is, I think we can all agree, is one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. And Grant, you go ahead and discuss The Dark Knight.
Well, obviously, the best part of The Dark Knight is not really Christian Bale's Batman itself. It was Heath Ledger's Joker, which is so far easily the best portrayal of the character in film ever, which I don't think is really disputed by anybody. I loved The Dark Knight. I liked all the action sequences. I liked how well Christian Bale kind of played like the tortured Batman who didn't want to like really be Batman as much as he did. Kind of wanted to quit. I liked that kind of inner conflict. I thought that did really well. I thought it was portrayed very well on screen. I wasn't a big fan of Rachel. I never really have been. I just kind of find her character a little bit irritating and helpless all the time, but that's really the only thing I don't like about The Dark Knight. I wouldn't say I hold it in as high as regard as most people do. It was definitely a great movie, but a lot of people think it's one of the best, which I don't agree with as much. But it was definitely a great movie. I enjoyed it.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call Heath Ledger's Joker the best Joker. I would call him the best Joker for this Batman that Christian Bale has created. I don't think if they had went with the original Joker, the one that's like all dressed up nice and stuff, they wouldn't have done a great job. This Joker was just crazy enough to actually
To go against like
Yeah.
the Bale Batman. Yeah. So he's sort of like it's sort of like a psychological thriller almost. Like yeah, I mean I love Ledger's Joker, but I love all the other performances in the movie too. I actually disagree with you, Grant. I think that Rachel was great in this movie. And I am one of those people who thinks it's one of the greatest movies of all time. I don't think there's like a single flaw in the acting in this movie. That's a bold statement to make, but if you watch it, it might be very hard for you to find one. I can't. I talked about it a lot last week. It was in our competition for the best DC comic book movie. If you want to see that, go back and watch it, see if it won, or Batman Begins or The Dark Knight Rises, which we'll get to. Those are all in there too. Moving on, our next movie is Inception. Grant, start.
I definitely like Inception a lot. I kind of like the entire cast. I think they really worked well together. I definitely like Tom Hardy and Leonardo DiCaprio because they're both some of the best actors of our time, I'd like to think. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio established himself early, but I think with Tom Hardy's kind of established himself kind of later in time with performances like like in The Revenant and performances in Mad Max, which was easily my favorite movie of the year.
Warrior.
Yeah, Warrior's also a very good movie, but not as known. Inception. I can honestly say I think it came out when I was in like 6th grade, so I didn't understand it like the first time I watched it, but I definitely have a greater appreciation of it like once I watched it like second and third times because I like being able to watch it. I think the story really unfolds well.
Yeah, Michael, what are your thoughts on Inception?
Yeah, with Inception, I had only watched it like once, and when I was like in 6th grade, and I haven't watched it since. But one thing I can say about it is that I really like the performance of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, performances are great all around. I watched it when I was young too. I didn't get it at all. I watched it more recently. Thought it was great. Cillian Murphy's also in it. He's pretty good. Marion Cotillard is way better in this than I think she is in The Dark Knight Rises. And it's another one that you really got to pay attention to, but if you watch it all the way through, I think it's really rewarding. Leaves you with sort of wondering what happened, but we talked about this back on episode 3, but I really enjoy Inception. It's probably my third favorite of Chris Nolan's movies after The Dark Knight, not The Dark Knight Rises, The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. On to The Dark Knight Rises. Grant, thoughts?
I love The Dark Knight Rises. I think it's a great movie. I thought it was a little overhyped for how good it was going to be. I mean, all the performances are done well. I think it's definitely a great movie. I don't really have any problems with it. I wouldn't say it was better than Batman Begins. I do think it's the worst of the great trilogy that it is. I thought it kind of wrapped up the series well. The ending was kind of vague, just with him somehow flying out between like just like a small window and somehow being able to get out, which didn't make much sense. I thought Tom Hardy's Bane was very good. I liked him more than Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul, but not as much as Heath Ledger's Joker. I liked how they kind of didn't use the whole mental factor over Batman. He was just physically kind of a better fighter than he was, and I absolutely loved the scene where he fights Batman and wins in the first part of the movie. Yeah, I really liked the movie. I thought it was good.
All right, Michael.
Yeah, I really liked The Dark Knight Rises also. The one problem I had with it was they didn't was like the amount how much they focused on one of the female characters that was the focus of one of the main twists at the end.
Oh yeah.
I didn't think they focused on her much enough, and the twist at the end didn't have that much effect on most people, or at least I don't think so. Uh, other than that, I thought the Bane or Tom Hardy as Bane was pretty good. I loved his voice, especially Bane voice, and yeah, overall it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some to like about it, but overall, it was a really disappointing movie for me. There's a lot of stuff that really bothers me about it. I don't like the multiple endings. How they keep showing Batman in Italy or wherever he is, and then I don't like that he ends up with Catwoman because they had no chemistry in the movie. These are things I said last week, but overall it was disappointing. But there's still some things to like. I really like Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the movie. I thought well, actually I can't say that because it's a spoiler, but yeah, we actually have to move on. Overall, I thought it was an okay movie. I guess I could sort of compare it to Batman v Superman, even though I think I like Batman v Superman a little bit better. So the final movie that has come out for Chris Nolan so far is Interstellar. So Grant, go ahead, discuss Interstellar.
I loved Interstellar. I thought it was really artistic. I don't necessarily agree that people said it was super realistic for its first space movie, which I found to be false, considering they fly through a wormhole and then he gets trapped in a giant space bookshelf. I don't find that realistic, even though I remember seeing a tweet by Neil deGrasse Tyson that was he praised it for its space, for it being correct with how things would really be. I mean, the theory of relativity was accurate, but I thought the actual artistic. I liked being able to see them go when they're flying around the black hole, and I thought it was just really visually stunning, as well as I loved how I like Matthew McConaughey. I thought he was great in Wolf of Wall Street. I thought he was great in a lot of the stuff he acts in now, not as much as past stuff, but I thought he did a great job. Anne Hathaway, I found irritating. I didn't really like her character. She just kind of cried a lot and complained. I mean, she was smart. She did serve her purpose in the movie. I don't really know why his son was in the movie, as you've seen. Nobody really cares about him at all, not even his father. I kind of like how they had the two separate storylines going on that kind of intertwined with the destruction of Earth, as well as the quest of Matthew McConaughey while they were still kind of communicating. As you could see, he'd go down on one planet and then come back up, and his sister would be an adult. I thought that was really cool. I kind of liked how theory of relativity kind of worked in. It was kind of a different factor that they had to race against.
Yeah. Michael.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the most cinematically pleasing films of Christopher Nolan. I liked Matthew McConaughey and Matt Damon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially even though Matt Damon wasn't in it for that much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Matt Damon, I think that a better space movie was The Martian, but I still liked Interstellar. The end kind of pissed me off because they were trying to be like scientifically accurate, and then they just threw in that space bookshelf, and it was like, what the hell? And I also didn't think they ever explained how the wormhole got there, which was like I was waiting to see.
Apparently, it was from humans who had transcended the third dimension, which is also not realistic at all.
But but that is paradoxical.
They said it was us from the future that put the wormhole there, which was still really confusing. Probably a more confusing twist than Inception altogether, to be honest, because like, if you didn't really understand the explanation while he was in the space bookshelf, then you just like, what on earth is this movie about, really? Because I'm confused.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I thought it kind of got too complex for itself at the end.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, it just kind of, like, stopped understanding its own self. Like, he just didn't really make any sense towards the end.
Yeah, that was my thoughts on the movie. So we're out of time, but thank you to Grant and thank you to Michael. I hope you guys had a good time. I know I did. Thanks for coming. Anything you guys want to say before we close this?
No, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Alright, well, I'll love to have you guys back sometime. And thank you to the audience for watching. We'll be back next week. And until then, do not drink Granny's peach tea. Goodbye.